It's a mantra recited by many New Yorkers these days. Tonight, a march led by interfaith leaders outside Gracie Mansion, urging Mayor Adams to close the city's infamous jail. Adding fuel to this fire, recent stories that suggest the Department of Correction may have tampered with important records. And the big question now, will the federal government take over Rikers? Here's Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger.
They marched through the rain to the mayor's house tonight. Outside Gracie Mansion, these interfaith leaders implored Mayor Adams to speed up the transformation of Rikers Island.
The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
It is not moving forward fast enough.
It's been 3 years to the day since City Council voted to close the chronically dangerous jail and replace it with a system of borough-based facilities, which would offer more restorative services to inmates as they await trial. And the Adams administration has doubled down, publishing a detailed website on the city's plans to complete the transformation by April 2027, a year late because of COVID. But City Hall reports the number of inmates is down 51% since 2013. The problem is the current situation between now and 2027. With 16 inmates having died on the island this year alone, a judge will determine next month whether to hand control of Rikers to the federal government.
I don't know why people think the response to a problem is allowing someone else to handle the problem. No.
For months, the mayor has pointed to statistics like the number of inmate slashings and absentee correction officers as improving under his watch.
I want the problem of the generational dysfunction of Rikers. I want it. I don't want someone else to handle a problem of New York City. The problems that we have, I was elected to resolve them.
But in the rain outside Gracie Mansion tonight, these activists insisted he must move faster. On the Upper East Side, Josh Einiger, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Will be honored from this game. And again, the tickets will be honored from this game for tomorrow afternoon. We'll have coverage for you right here on News 12, of course. Meanwhile, in other news tonight, today marks 3 years since the City Council voted to shut down Rikers Island by 2026.
But some faith leaders and decarceration advocates say enough is enough and that something has to be done now.
Yeah, tonight they gathered outside of Gracie Mansion.
And News 12's Faith Graham was there. She joins us now. Faith, what was their message?
Well, Amanda, their message was that Rikers Island is a humanitarian crisis. Now, they chose to meet here outside Gracie Mansion with hopes of capturing the attention of Mayor Eric Adams. One of the speakers that we heard from tonight was Darren Mack. He works with the Freedom Agenda, and he described the current situation on Rikers as playing Russian roulette with human lives.
For some, you know, as we've seen in so many cases, people are taking their own lives. The conditions are so inhumane. And, you know, and some people are like frustrated and they take it out on each other. So I think, you know, it's a crisis.
Now an activist, Darren Mack, spent 19 months on Rikers back in the 90s. Tonight, he and others each held a sign showing the name of someone who died in DOC custody this year. This gathering acted as a vigil. With 14 deaths so far in 2022, according to the DOC, we've already surpassed last year's total death toll, and the year isn't over yet. Because of that, faith leaders are calling for change. They want to see the jail's population decrease and conditions improve.
The conditions of people at Rikers are unspeakable. People sleeping next to their feces, people who are not able to get changes of clothing, people who are stuck in showers that are serving as solitary confinement spaces. I mean, it's unspeakable.
Now, we are still 4 years out from 2026, but people like Rabbi Ellman are calling on the city to improve the process and speed it up so that more lives are not lost. Outside Gracie Mansion, Faith Graham, News.
Thank you. So our camera's got an exclusive look inside that building. A small group of troubled teens will soon call home at Angola. The Angola prison will welcome their first set of young men over the next 2 weeks.
Perry Robinson went inside. He has more from that tour today. Perry, what can you tell us?
Hey, Liz and Greg, this move was met with both strong support and opposition. But leaders feel they have a plan in place that can ease the minds of both parties.
A building surrounded by barbed wire and a stretch of black fabric is the place dozens of troubled teens will soon call home.
We've been busy at work Probably like the last 60, 90 days, really trying to get this space up and ready for us.
Officials opened their doors to only 2 reporters and led us on a tour inside the controversial Angola facility. The old death row building that once served as housing for women inmates is where the teens will live. Inside, the young people will sleep, eat, go to school, get medical care, and have recreational time.
And one thing I want you to notice, we spaced it out to ensure even more privacy for the youth as opposed to just putting them all back to back, so we do have some space in. And the reason the doors are shut is we're not going to use those rooms.
OJJ plans to move the teens in waves of 8 at a time, with the potential to house up to 24. The first set is expected to come in 1 or 2 weeks.
For the most part, we have everything here. If we had to open up tonight, we can accommodate the kids.
One of the biggest concerns from opponents about this move involved possible contact with the other adult inmates.
I don't see how that can happen.
Directors at Angola say the black fabric that completely covers the building and more than a mile distance between the closest adult facility will keep away any contact.
We feel very confident that our young people will be able to be housed here without having any interaction with any adult inmates.
Before this plan was finalized, there were also talks about moving teens to the Justin Center that sits near Baker. As of now, those talks are on hold.
At this moment, we don't have plans on moving any children on that current Justin ground.
Officials did consider Justin as a possible option to move inmates in case a storm hits, but anything more is still being discussed.
We did have some internal discussions. If we had to do a quick evacuation, Justin could have been a testing ground of any adult inmates.
Before this plan was finalized, there were also talks about moving teens to the Justin Center that sits near Baker. As of now, those talks are on hold.
At this moment, we don't have plans on moving any children on that current Justin ground.
Officials did consider Justin as a possible option to move inmates in case a storm hits, but anything more is still being discussed.
We did have some internal discussions. If we had to do a quick evacuation, Justin could have been a place where we would have gone just to be able to avoid a storm.
Leaders say the goal is to house the teens for only a few weeks and reintegrate them back into one of their main campuses. Guys, back to you.
All right, Perry, thank you for that inside look. We certainly appreciate it.
Producers.
The state revoked its license last year, citing ongoing issues within the center. And despite the county's efforts over several years to try to rectify this issue, they ultimately closed the center down. Tonight, we're hearing from people who both support this decision and want to see the center here reopened.
Biggest mistake Allegheny County could have made was by closing Schumann Juvenile Detention Center.
A former director of the Schumann Juvenile Center, William Simmons, echoing the same message from Police Commander Richard Ford this week.
We have an Allegheny County system that has no juvenile detention facility right now, and we have no plan B. We have juveniles out there that are being released that are repeat offenders with previous gun charges and that are still out there.
Ford and Mayor Ed Gainey questioned the closure of the center. The state revoked its license last year, citing years of violations and ongoing issues. Simmons was not the director at the time it closed. He said he was let go from his role prior. When it closed, County Manager William McCain said there were just 20 kids committed and the average stay was about 12 days. Simmons says a matter of days is still valuable time to give juveniles educational, medical, and mental health attention.
It's a vitally necessary service for a lot of reasons. One is just the security of the juveniles, but also the families. I mean, now you're having situations where grandma, who used to come maybe once a week, can't get to see her grandchild. His mother cannot see her child.
County Council member Bethany Hallam agrees, saying there should have been a plan B in place before sending kids to facilities outside of Allegheny County.
Instead of talking about where are we going to lock them up, let's talk about what we can do for these children and their families to make sure that they don't ever end up in a facility like Schumann or any of the numerous other facilities out of county that we're now contracting with to send children.
She serves on the Jail Oversight Board, which doesn't have a say in the Schumann Center, but she says it should have. She does not support the center reopening.
Yes, we are seeing violence at a rate that we have not seen in decades. But is the reason Schumann? Because I don't believe that.
And we know that the center has been maintained. Right now there is an RFP out for a new developer or operator who wants to come in and take over, but the county says that they prefer it would be a group that wants to keep this going as a juvenile detention center. We'll of course keep you updated as we learn more about future plans. Reporting live tonight in Lincoln, Leamington, Belmar, Kaylee Gunderson, Pittsburgh's Action News.
We've learned 10 young inmates were transferred this morning from the Bridge City. In Parish, we've learned 10 young inmates were transferred this morning from the Bridge City Center for Youth. They're now at a temporary juvenile facility on the grounds of Angola Prison. The goal is to transfer is to help relieve pressure on the understaffed center, which has seen multiple escapes and a riot this year. About an hour ago, we talked to State Senator Pat Connick, who represents Bridge City. He believes this is a positive development.
It's come to this where the Bridge City facility has to shut down, get these juveniles moved out into a facility where they can hopefully be rehabilitated. The whole goal of juvenile justice is not to punish, but to rehabilitate. Taking this step of moving those who have caused trouble into the system out of the system and into Angola where they have better control is going to help everybody. It's going to help Bridge City, it's going to help the West Bank, the East Bank, and the whole entire area around here. So it's a long time coming, and I welcome the move.
The state renovated the part of Angola the teens were taken to. Yesterday, we got our first look at the facility. Activists and families of the teens have sued the state. They say being housed at one of the country's most notorious prisons will traumatize the teens. More will be moved soon. Governor John Bel Edwards previously said about 24 Bridge City inmates would be transferred to Angola. Total, about half of the population at Bridge City.
Know that nearly 7 out of 10 Black Panther Party members were young women? And that in addition to providing free breakfast to school children, the Black Panthers established all kinds of free services around the world. From Oakland, California to Auckland, New Zealand. A new book titled Comrade Sisters details the story of the Panther women in their own words. All power to the people.
People were literally dying. Without cash in hand or a health insurance card, Black people were denied ambulance service. My parents did not want me doing this work, but it so happened that one of my mother's friends had to be rushed to the hospital. Later, my mom's friend told her how the Panthers' free ambulance service had saved her life.
The Black Panther Party is the reason why my mother could openly support me as a queer person, coming out at age 12. The party was the only Black organization in the country that had a commitment to working with queer people. Before we began sickle cell testing and education, the doctors said it was a Black disease, and therefore there was no funding for research. They really didn't care. Marie Roper, a sister in the party, lived with sickle cell and died from sickle cell, so we knew the pain of this disease firsthand. I love you, my sisters.
Our Panther work was done out of love for all of our Pacific cultures. We revolutionized the minds of thousands of students all over the country. We're reaching the minds of the teachers too. My heart and love goes out to you, our Tuakana, our older siblings, the Black Panthers, for starting us on our journey.
Aisha would want girls and women of all ages to know that historically, women have always been an instrumental part of our fight for justice. My mother would often quote a Ghanaian proverb, "If you educate a man, you educate an individual, but if you educate a woman, you educate a family, a nation,